Hello, welcome to painting number 2. And as you can see, today's painting is going to be a beautiful sunflower. I was going to be using a white rose, but it has been switched out for this lovely sunflower that was picked for my mother-in-law by her grandson. So I thought it looks so beautiful. I really want to paint it. And it has a lovely bright yellow, which can help us with the ideas that we're going for in painting, things that stand out to us. The bright yellow color really stands out and makes us look at the yellow sunflower. So before we get started, I thought I would talk a little about some painting process and what a good painting needs. Okay, I'll put this down here. And down here on my mixing area. Okay, painting process and what a good painting needs. Because it's good to keep in mind things that are necessary for making a painting, not just, oh, I put some paint out there, but why is this one working? What is it about the painting that's working well? Okay, I'll try to get that a little farther. Yep. Okay, now we can see all the words. Okay, what a good painting needs. And these are just 3 things that I thought, okay, well these 2 seem to be the most important. This one is very helpful as well. There are other things that people will say, this is important, that is important, and those other things are also very good to know. But number 1, most important thing, it needs composition, meaning how the parts of the picture are put together. And the purpose of that, it's like, well, why do I need to figure out how the parts of the painting are put together? It's to guide the eye into the painting, because we don't want people to look at a painting and go, oh, never mind, I don't really want to look at that. We want a composition, or the way the parts are put together, to draw the viewer's eye into the picture and make us want to look at it. Number 2, values. And value, that's what we started talking about last time with light and dark values. And this helps the composition out. It helps to the making the different parts with different values and putting it together so that it guides our eyes, like, oh, this part is dark, this part is light, and that's why there's this contrast. Oh, okay, now it's directing my eye somewhere. So it helps the composition, and it also makes objects look more 3D. If you have a painting where it's only one value instead of values plural, the painting will tend to look flat. No lighter areas, no shadow areas. It won't look very 3-dimensional. It's not as interesting for our eyes to look at. Okay, and then number 3 is colors. And the important thing to think about with colors is not exactly how many colors you have, but how saturated or how dull the colors are. So are they bright and saturated, like the yellow that we see on the sunflower? Or are they dull, like the brown that's on the stripe on the vase? So that also helps to point our eyes and guide our eyes, because the more saturated the colors are, and also the warmer warm saturated colors specifically will grab the viewer's attention more, and you contrast that with dull colors. Okay, so where am I supposed to look in the painting? Ah, now I know. It will be at the saturated, particularly if it's a warm saturated color, our eyes will go there, and then it might be surrounded by other colors that are more dull, less saturated. Okay, so that's a bit about what a good painting needs, and then also we can think about in painting there's a process. Maybe we think, oh, I just paint it. I just put the color on the canvas. There it is. But wait, how do I decide where to put everything on there? How do I go from the beginning to the end? Yes, there is a process in painting. Here's a shortened version of the painting process to keep it simple and think, okay, well, I can't remember 20 steps for the process of a painting. Can you make it into 4 steps? Ah, I can. Okay. Number 1, it's important first to plan what to paint. What am I going to paint today? And where are the parts going to go on the picture? Is it in the middle? Is it to the left, the right, up, down? How big is it? How small is it inside of the picture? So plan what to paint. And then once, so with number 1, making a sketch, a composition, a little sketch like this tiny thumbnail sketch, that can be very helpful. I'm not going to be doing that in this demonstration. I already have my idea in mind, but that is something to think about too, is if you're choosing your composition instead of here I'm giving you a composition, right? Oh wait, where are the parts? Maybe if I make a sketch, I will think about it. Okay, now I know where I'm going to put the different parts in the painting, how big, how small. So plan it out. Number 2, sketch it in. You can use a pencil. You can use paint. That's what I'm doing. I use my thin brush as if it was like a pencil, and I use the paint and sketch it in so that I lay out where the parts will be. Number 3, block in together with the mixing of colors and values. So I'm deciding what colors, I'm deciding what values, and I'm blocking it in, meaning no details yet. No details yet. It's important to get the bigger idea first before doing details. And the reason is because if you start with a detail but you haven't put the big idea in, the detail is probably in the wrong place. And now you have to paint around that detail instead of, okay, now, after I've put in the basic idea, then add the detail. Oh, it's just much easier to do it, block in, and then add the details at the end. Okay, so here we go. We're going to be painting, and I have a photo that's right underneath me. This is pretty much what I'm going to be looking at, but I will be looking at it from a slightly different viewpoint. And we are talking about values, so I want to show the idea of using my value checker. Once again, I know that this is it's kind of clearing up, but the picture you can see it a little bit better. And I've got my value scale here. So I'm thinking about what kind of values I'm going to need. And once I mix each of the colors, I'm going to show my color mixing today. When I mix the colors, then I can think about, okay, how light or how dark are different areas. And this hole punch that I've put in there, that can also help me. I can compare it next to it, right above it, but I can also compare through the hole and look, and I go, okay, the yellow is not quite as light as the 1. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I know that in this video, it has trouble seeing. The camera has trouble seeing all of the values at the same time. It seems to only either see all the dark values at the same time or all the light values, depending on the lighting. But you see here you can see the dark values. Okay, anyway, when I look through and I compare, and I'm looking at the yellow, if I'm looking at the yellow over here, to me it looks like a 4, like the number 4. Yeah, you can see that. Okay, if I look at it up here where the light is shining on it in a different way, it looks like maybe 3, but there's more light over here. So it should make a difference. It's still yellow, but it can be lighter or darker. And we can compare that with what's inside here. Okay. In the middle here, it's very dark. That looks like number 10 to me. And you can see it in the picture. Here it's harder to see on the video part, but in the picture you can see how this area around here is brown and it's lighter than the center. So when I hold this up and I look through, I think it looks like maybe number 8. Right? So there's a difference. 8, 10, 3, 4. I've also got this teapot here. Bonus. I like this teapot. I like the way that the teapot and the flower look together. It just looks pretty to me. And it looks like, they're kind of carrying on a conversation. They're talking to each other. So one thing about the setup that I have here, notice that I have, if you look in the picture down below, you can see that I'm making the flower face into the painting slightly. And when I'm planning out the composition, how I'm going to make the painting, let's see, canvas over. So when I'm planning out how to make the painting, if I have a flower and it's opening up, but I just say I make the flower turn the other way. Oh, okay. Then if I have it on this side and the flower is pointing this way, it's pointing out of the painting, it tends to not draw our eye into the painting fully, right? It's like I'm here and I stop right here. My eye will just stop right there. But if I have the flower pointing the other way, right, and it's opening up this way, then it's pointing into the picture. So our eye travels in to see the flower. So it's traveling through the picture. And that's really helpful. Another thing I did was I pointed the teapot towards the flower, and it makes it look like they're talking to each other in a way. Not exactly, but it's all pointing in. I could turn the teapot around and maybe it wouldn't make a huge difference. I don't know, because the main focus is going to be the flower. But I like the way that it kind of goes together. So anytime that you have different subjects, you can think, okay, is it pointing into the picture? Is it guiding my eye into the picture? Now, we can mix and paint. You might notice I've got an extra tube of paint here. It's not exactly the same yellow as this one. It's just a little bit lighter because I really like how bright the sunflower petals are, so I also took out a lighter yellow. You can see the difference here. This is the one I'm regularly using. But you don't need it, right? You don't need it to make this painting work. It just gives it a little extra pop. Okay. So, beginning. Composition is planned. Number 2. Sketch in. Here we go. And since I'm sketching in with paint, I'm going to mix a neutral color using all 3 of my colors so that it's just something that will fade into the background. Okay, and while I'm doing this, I'm also going to be taking my glasses off. And the reason why is because I often get distracted with all the little tiny details, but if I take off my glasses, it's blurry. So you may not have glasses to take off. Maybe your eyesight is really good. If it is, another tip that another artist has is squint your eyes. And that can help you to not see the details. I mean, you don't just keep your eyes squinted while you're painting it, but when you're looking at the object and then you squint your eyes and then you go, oh, okay, I don't want all of the details to start with, just the general idea of how it's going to work. Okay, so thinking about the placement, and if you have trouble with sketching things in, or with sketching and proportions in general, there can be drawing classes that you can take that help with how to sketch it in a little bit more, where to put things, the size relationships to each other. This is what I think about. It's like, okay, what is the shape? Where is it? This is going to be the top, bottom, and I'm thinking about where the vase is over on the side. I don't want the vase to fall off, so then I think, where's the side of my flower? Okay, and it's fairly round, so proportions, size relationships, it will be about as tall as it is wide. And I think how far over is my vase. If it's wrong, if I think no, that's not in the right place, then I can fix it. I don't have to keep it the way that I have it. Okay, thinking. Here's the vase. Okay, I will need to make the vase slightly smaller, otherwise my teapot will not fit on there. So I will shrink up the flower. Shrink, shrink, shrink. Remember that these brush strokes probably won't even show in the final picture. Okay, shrinking down. Okay, and I'm looking for the left edge of the the left edge of the vase, and where is that in relationship to the sunflower? How far over does it go? Okay. Okay, I think I have shrunk down my vase enough. Okay, and when I look at the vase and the vase and the sunflower, I can think to myself, oh, what about those size relationships? Is this bigger, smaller, or the same as the vase? One thing I do, but I kind of do it in my mind now, is I can hold out the end of the brush, like as if this is a measuring tool. Hold it out, hold my arm out straight and measure top to bottom. Okay, then I'm measuring the vase, and I go, oh, okay, the vase is, if this much is the flower and this much is the vase, right? This was the flower measure and this was the vase measurement. That means the vase, if I go from the bottom of where the flower is down to the bottom of the vase, it should be slightly smaller. Let me check. Did I do it right? Oh, yeah. Oh, just about, just about. But remember, I'm used to doing this mentally, so if I get pretty close, it's because I'm already thinking like that, and I've been thinking like that for a while. Where is everything? What is the angle? Okay, now this part of the vase, I think I'm making it too wide. It probably should be a little thinner, but we'll keep working on that once the painting is started. Okay, and then I will add the middle of the flower. I'm thinking about how much space is there for the petals. Once again, I can use my measuring tool and measure, right? Okay, is it this big? Is it this big? How far down does it go? Okay, let me show that actually. Let me show it. Okay, so if I had the whole flower, okay, and then I'm thinking, okay, this is from the top of the, oh, here, let me put it in your view. From the top of the petal to where the middle of the sunflower starts is like that much, right? So I can go over here and look, because this is about the measurement I'm actually using. Oh, it should go to here. And if I do it again for the bottom, I see it like that. Okay, so I take it over. Aha. Okay, that makes it look way too small. I know it's not that small. I think it's because I don't have this quite right. If it looks like, oh no, that can't be right, my measuring is off, check again, check and see. So I'm thinking it's probably, this is a little smaller than, like a full measurement of my hand is out like that. So that's why it's not quite like that. So I'm actually going to move that up a little. Okay. Think about how far in the sides go, what angle. And there's a lot of curves, a lot of petals on there. Just ignore the petals to start with. Don't get caught up in how many petals there are in the sunflower at this time, or else it will all get lost. It's like, oh no, I'm on number 50, right? No. Petal number 50. Okay. Okay, and then I'm thinking also about the teapot. Where is the teapot in relation to the sunflower and the vase? Where's the bottom of the teapot? So when I'm looking, the bottom of the teapot is lower than the vase. I don't want it to fall off of my picture here. So hopefully I made this high enough. I think I'm going to just try to make it work. Let's see what happens here. Okay, I know that the handle, there's a space between the flower and the handle. So I'm thinking about the measurement of that space. And I'm thinking about where is the teapot, the spout, how far up does it come? The angle of the spout. How big is the spout? What's the angle on the other side? Where does the side of the handle come down? And remember, if this is not in the right place, if it looks weird, you just keep fixing it later. Okay, how tall is the handle? How wide is the handle? How high is the top, the lid on the teapot compared to where the flower and the vase are? It looks like it's as tall as the bottom of the petals. Okay, and if you think of it this way, instead of thinking about oh, this is a three-dimensional object, I better make it all exactly how it's supposed to be. If you just think about the angles of the direction where things are going, and you think about where things are in relation to each other, and you keep measuring, mentally measuring, or it's better if you actually start with like, okay, I'm measuring. How wide is it? How tall is it? Right? Then it will naturally look more correct. The perspective, the three-dimensionalness of it will naturally start to look more correct. Okay, how far out is the teapot compared to the handle? It's something that takes a lot of practice too. So over time, you get better and better at it. the more that you practice looking for the angles. So I'm looking, this is coming down, what angle is it at? So the second tip about drawing onto your canvas. So the first one was, the first tip I gave about, okay, well, how do I figure out the sizes of things is by comparing, right? How tall is the flower and how tall is the vase? But I can also go, how wide is the flower versus how tall is the flower? So then the second thing is, what angle is it? What angle is it? So it's round, and then you might think, I don't know. I don't know what angle it is. But just think of a part of it, right? Like from here to here on the teapot, there to there. If I hold out and you may have to close one eye so that you can get that angle a little bit better. Hold the end of your pencil or your paintbrush on that area and look for the angle. Okay, so if I look at the top above the top, the lid, right? It's like, oh, okay, that's going to be more flat. If I look at this area here, then the angle is more like this. And then I think, okay, I want that angle. I want that angle. That's what I'm going to put in. More like that. And you can round it out later, but then you know you have the correct angle. So this teapot looks a little funny. It doesn't look quite right yet. It has not got not all of the right angles on there yet. Especially where the spout is. Okay, that will help right there a bit. Okay, and then say the lid. A lot of times people will, when you draw something and you know it's round, like this lid is round, you might do something like this. Oh, it's round. But it's not going to look like that. It's not going to look round on there because it's laying flat on the top of the teapot. The lid is laying down flat. So what you can do also is just once again check. Okay, how tall is it versus how wide is it? Oh, right? It's actually about twice as wide as it is tall. Twice as wide as it is tall. So when I'm making the part for how tall it is, think about that. Thinking about how wide it is. Okay, this needs to be, oh, see, I'm fixing it. Now it's in a different spot. I'm thinking that the spout is more over here, right? Not there. If I take that out, and then you can see what I'm doing to adjust it. It's like I'm erasing, but with paint instead of pencil. But you can do this with pencil as well. Okay. handle, just looking at the angles on the handle a little bit more before starting to paint it. Okay, the angle might be a little too strong right there, more like that. Okay, that's getting closer. We're ready. We have a basic sketch in. Don't feel like, oh, it's stuck there now. It has to stay like that. All right, you keep adjusting as you go along. Keep adjusting as you go along, and then it will come out. Okay, next. Now I'm going to start mixing. I didn't put the background in. I'm going to do a quick line on there. I know you can't see it. Here. 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 Okay. Let me turn it again so that you can see. Okay, I just put in a line to divide the wall from the table. So I have kind of an idea there. Okay, now mixing. I will start with the background. I'm going to mix a few colors so that we can get to the next step, which is blocking in. So now I'm on, Now I'm on step number 3, block in / mixing colors and values. Okay, I'm going for the background color first. There's actually several colors in the background. I can see a little bit more light on the left and a little more shadow on the right. It's pretty dull, so that means it will have all 3 of the colors in there. That's too much on the red side. A little too blue. I often mix for a while before I decide that it's correct. So when I look at it, I'm seeing a number 2. This here is like number 4 for the light side. But let me see about the darker side. Darker side. Darker side. Maybe number 5? Number 4? I think so. I can use that for the darker side. Yeah, it looks good. Checking. Ah, that is a number 2. And it is dull. It's close to the color that I'm seeing. Just gonna tweak it a little bit. I'm not sure if I have enough of that color. I probably don't. May have to mix more. But since it is not a detail, it is big, I need to start with my larger brush. And I'm still looking at everything to check and see if I'm putting it in the right place, whether it's too close, too far, something wrong. And I can go over the lines somewhat, because once I do the next color, it will just go over that. In case you wonder why I'm leaving this here, that's a leaf that I'm seeing. Kind of similar to the color of the vase. I'll do more with that later. Or the shadow there on the vase there. Picking up a little bit more of the lighter color. Now I'm transitioning from the darker area to the lighter area. There's no hard edge, so I will make sure that I'm blending as I go, and not having a hard edge between dark and light. Okay, something that always tricks my eyes is when I'm looking at it and there's still a lot of white on the canvas, my brain will say, that's not light enough. You don't have enough contrast here between the light and the dark area. But if I look at my colors I just mixed, I go, yes, I do. I do have enough. So I have to trust that I'm putting down the color, the right value there, and then once all of the colors are there, blocked in, if it still looks wrong, fix it, but don't jump in and, oh, I need to hurry up and make it a lot lighter. because then I will end up with way too much contrast, and that's the background. It really doesn't need to be standing out so much. Okay. Okay. Now for some red. Red for the, it's not a tablecloth, it's a placemat, but it's not that bright. So to make it a little more dull, add a little of the other colors in. But that's probably going to be too dark. I'm looking at the placemat, and yeah, it's more like 5 or 6. I'm thinking I'll go with, yeah, 6. And then as it's moving towards the vase, more like a 7. Let's find out. What have I got? Maybe 8. Yeah, that looks like 8. So definitely not that dark on the lighter side. Okay, I'm going to keep some of that for the darker side. So I feel like it's working more for the darker side there, but the lighter side, I will need to add a bit of white to it, just a bit, otherwise it won't get light enough. So thinking, yes, 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 there we go. There it is. Okay, darker side. Yeah, a little too dark. gonna put a tiny touch of white in there. Let's see what happens. As if I only want it to lighten a little bit and it's a dark color, I don't want to grab a big pile of white. Yes, yes, there we go. Okay, and we can definitely see the difference. So once again, when I put it onto the canvas, it might be hard to see the difference. Okay, I'm going to stay with a big brush. Make sure I don't have a lot of other paint on my brush. Otherwise it will just mix together. Going for the darker area. You can see that I'm shrinking the vase a little bit because I'm thinking, oh, it still looks maybe a little bit big for what I'm doing. Okay. And that does not have to be a very hard edge right there. It looks a little funny here, right? It's like, what's going on? Yeah, I can fix that. Can fix it. Make the angle match up with going behind. Okay. Oh, we're actually not really going to see the lighter part because of how I'm designing this. Yeah. So I mixed that light color, but we don't really use it so much. I'm going to use it right over here though. I'm looking for the angle of the trivet that it's sitting on. The edge, the angle of the edge. So you'll notice that this angle is going slightly this way and this angle goes slightly this way. That's another one of those things where if you're just drawing it, we're tempted to draw it the wrong way because we think, oh, it's a square. I know that's a square, so this angle and this angle have to go the same way. But because of it laying flat and being in perspective, the way that I'm looking at it, this part will angle out a little this way and that part a little that way. So it's better to just observe the angle that you see. Okay, and now Background, moving closer to foreground, I will do this part here that the teapot is sitting on. It has some green in there. I might do that later, but I'm just gonna think more about the value first. Think about the shadow, and I'm gonna use that sort of green design area as shadow area. Yeah, okay. Little darker. Looking for a number 6. Yes, we've got it. Okay, and the brown edge on it, it's different values actually. If you're on the left side or the right side, let me look at the right side. More like a, yeah, like maybe like a 9 even. Let's see where this is, right? That's a brown made of all 3. Where's that? Is that the right value? I think it's about right. That's close. Okay, and it doesn't come forward too much in how I've cropped it. This side, it has part of it a little dark, and then it changes. It gets to be a number 4. Number 4 is what I see. So I'll make a bit of that brown. Brown number 4. It's got more yellow in it too. That should be too light. Let's see. Yeah, too light. Yep, brown number 4. I feel like it's a color swatch or a something, the name of something, but it's not. Oh, I know what I'm thinking of. Like engine number 5 or red number 5 or something. Not. Or the names of some things. Like that perfume. Okay. This is the darker red. There's a bit of shadow here. So that will help it to look 3D. When I look at that, look for that shadow area and I put it in. Okay, and then kind of it's a white trivet there. This tile part is white, but we're not going to go just pure white. I'm going to look to see what value I see. I see number 2. Number 2, definitely. It's much easier to tell the value when it's a black and white object. But anyway, I see a number 2 value. So let me mix something like that. Okay, I've already got a gray right here. So it is I think it was like a number 3 or something, number 4. If I just add a bit more white, then it's easy to create something lighter. Yep. Good. Make sure I don't darken it too much. Okay, so it's gray, but because of the way everything is lit, it ends up looking, in the end, when these parts are covered, it will look as if it's white. Okay, from here, I'm going to move into the vase and the flower. I know that's the exciting part. The vase and the flower. Okay, on the vase, I'm looking at a gray and it is about number 5. Okay. Gray colors, oftentimes when we see it, like the coolness of the gray usually has a little bit more blue than red and yellow. And this isn't too dark, so yes, I got some white in there too, and that actually helps. Okay, if it looks too purple, add yellow. Let's see where I am. Oh, number 5. Okay. Mm-mm-mm. edge of it will be lighter because it's lighter than the wall. So I have to make sure I'm thinking about the comparison of the values too. Okay, here it can be darker, the shadow of the vase. This part is a little lighter. Okay, and if I have if I've lightened it too much, I can kind of fix that as I'm going along. And the brown strip it's close to the red color, but it's a little bit more orange. So it's kind of close to the dark red. If I look at the values, it's going to be closer to that, but it has more of an orange look, less of a red look. So an orange type of brown, a warm orange brown. That's too bright to me, too bright of an orange. So if it's too bright of an orange, I can add the opposite, which is blue. Yep. If this brush is too big for an area like that, you can switch to a smaller brush. But I find that when you're blocking in, it's okay to have some overlaps and allow some areas to be a little blurry and not quite so sharp, because if you crisp everything up, then it looks like, oh, everything is going to draw your attention and you're supposed to look there. But that's not really what you want. You don't want it to look like everything is calling for your attention, everything is important. Okay, and that has a bit of a curve. I'm looking at where it is in relation to everything else. Where's the top of the curve? Where's the bottom of the curve? Where does everything go? I'm going to put a touch of a darker gray down here. Oops, that's too purple. Too purple. You can compare what you have with what's already on there. Okay, if it's too purple, I add a little yellow. Let's check that again. Might be better. Let's find out. Yep, that's better. That's better. It's more like what I wanted. On there, and then some really dark red as well to make it look like there's a shadow. It's sitting down on top of the fabric. So I'm making a red that has more blue in it to darken it, and just a touch of yellow, but no white, because I'm creating a shadow that's kind of reddish, right? It's more of a brown, but a little bit of more towards the red side for that shadow, because I don't want it to be the same as the vase, which is gray. There we go. Okay, and now it looks like it's sitting on there. Okay, now for some sunflower. I think I'll go for the center of the sunflower first. To me, it's very dark and also very blue, like a blue black. So mostly blue, but I'll put a little of the other colors in there. Let's see what it looks like. That's too green to me, so a little more red. And I think more blue, because just a little of the other colors. Yeah, that's close. Okay. That's one of the darkest areas. I want it to stay very dark. Okay, and then brown around the outside. If I look at the brown that I created originally, that's pretty close. You know, when I mixed the three colors about equally, I got a dark brown that's about right for that area. So I'm going to try using some of that. Yeah, that's pretty close. we're ready for a little green and yellow. If you run out of room on your palette, you can always scrape some of these colors and wipe them and create some more space. But I think I have enough space here, so it should be fine. Green, but not the brightest green. And also not too dark, not too light. About a number 6, which will be lighter than this and more yellow. Better. Yes, that will do. I think you want to see that yellow on there, right? That bright yellow color for the sunflower. I'm going to squeeze some of that very bright yellow on. Very bright. Okay, but I'm going to need not just that really bright color. Oh. I will need something a little darker too. Very bright. Beautiful. Okay, and something a little bit more dull, not quite as saturated, but not green. Not green, oh no, right? Okay. Just a little, uh-oh, see, that's very, I don't need the really bright stuff for this, okay. That's better. More of the yellow in there, where it's tan. It looks like a orangey but tan kind of color. That's closer. But at some point I'm going to need some slightly different colors too on there. I think that that's a good place to start. This brush is big, but yes, I'm going to still try to use it for blocking in on the flower petals. I'm looking at the areas to see where are the darker areas and the lighter areas. And the way the light is shining, it's hitting this side more, and there's more shadow on that side. That's why you see me putting more of this more orangey, dull yellow on this side. A bit right there. Okay, and switch. Okay, I've got a lighter but more orange looking yellow. It is not light enough. Not light enough. I forgot to check the value. It's important. Let's check it. How light does it need to be? Maybe a number 3? 3, I think 3. Let's see. It's a bit light. Okay. Let's try that. Okay, that's better. I think that will work. Let's see. Lighter. Yes. So now I see it. Now I see it, and you're probably thinking, but I want to see it closer. So let's see it closer. Yeah. Okay, so this is not my brightest yellow yet. Okay, and then let me check my value before I put on the lightest part. It is, ooh, maybe a 1? It's very bright. Let's see if the yellow I have is, let me try it. Straight from the tube onto there. If it's not light enough, of course, just add some. Oh, that's pretty. Okay. So I'm looking for the areas that are lighter. And the petals curl out, so that's why there's a little hint of the lighter color there. I'd have to work on that spot. It's getting green. But if I add some thicker paint in there, it should work. Okay, I think I'm going to call that part 1 and have that as the end of part 1, even though I haven't put that in. And then I will start the video again and do part 2, where I continue working on blocking in, mixing colors and values for the teapot. And then I will continue working on step number 4, which is to add details. I don't know about you, but I always found that the adding details part, it doesn't take as much explanation, and it's not as difficult. Once I've got everything else there, it's like, oh well, I'm just tweaking it a little here and a little there, and it looks great. I've got a little highlight here, a little something there. Okay. So this is end of part 1.